Welcome to Lesson 3 in Unit 18, The Power of Water. In this lesson, students will work to answer the question, how are other natural resources used for energy? In this lesson, students will obtain and combine information on other natural resources humans use for energy, and how their uses impact the environment. Students figure out that humans use many types of natural resources for energy and fuel. Each resource is renewable or non-renewable, and their use has impacts on the environment. Students make connections to the storyline by explaining that the Glen Canyon Dam was built to generate hydropower, which is a renewable resource for energy, and that there are other ways that communities get energy. There are several opportunities for ELA and social studies cross-curricular connections throughout the lesson. You can look for specific standard connections in the Unit 18 Teacher Guide. This lesson will take approximately 5 days to complete. For the Engage portion of the lesson, you'll project the Glen Canyon Energy Map and ask questions about the energy produced by the Glen Canyon Dam and where else energy might come from if it doesn't produce enough. You'll revisit the driving question board and add any new questions to highlight questions connected to the learning goals of this lesson by calling attention to the use of natural resources for energy. You'll then project the Ways People Get Energy in Nevada graph. You'll use the graph as an opportunity to assess prior knowledge by asking questions about what students notice about the graph and what they know about these types of energy or fuels. For the Explore portion, you'll review the Natural Resources Research student journal pages. You'll read the research questions together with the class and share that scientists identify cause and effect relationships to help them understand connections between things. You'll assign each student one of the natural resources used for energy: solar, geothermal, coal, or natural gas. There should be a minimum of 3 students per natural resource, as students will join groups to combine findings and make a presentation. You'll tell students that as they read, they will think about how people get or use this natural resource and what technologies people have developed to do this. You'll share the Exploring Natural Resources for Energy readings with students and allot time for them to record their research in their student journals. Once students have met to share information and completed revisions to their journal pages, groups will create a poster or slide deck to share the information about their resource. You'll show students the Natural Resources Presentation Checklist student journal page, and as a class review the components to include in the presentation. Students will then do a gallery walk of presentations. In the Explain portion of the lesson, students will engage in a class discussion about their observations and learning from the activity. Use the provided questions to guide your discussion around the question, how are other natural resources used for energy? The goal of this class discussion is to synthesize student learning from the gallery walk and think about how other natural resources are used for energy. You will use the discussion to create the Lesson 3 summary chart. From the discussion, students should understand that the dam produces electricity and that it is a renewable form of energy. During the discussion, you can post and discuss the fossil fuel, renewable resource, and non-renewable resource vocabulary cards. For the Elaborate portion, you'll ask students more questions about types of energy and how what they've learned connects to the Glen Canyon Dam. To support student sense-making across the unit, orient them back to the driving question board. Ask, did we answer any of the questions on how other natural resources are used for energy? What new questions do we have? If there are questions that have been answered, remove them from the driving question board and place them on the summary chart. For the Evaluate portion, you'll remind students of the phenomenon. There are dams on rivers all over the United States, including the Glen Canyon Dam on the Colorado River. You'll then ask students what they may know about public service announcements and introduce students to the Public Service Announcement Planner student journal page. As students are working on the planner, you'll circulate and support students to connect appropriate evidence with each row on the planner. To close out Section 1, You'll ask students how they think the dam affects the environment and what questions they may have. Have students complete the Section 1 summative assessment. This assessment includes an article. It is best to print this separately so students can reference it as they answer questions 1 through 3. By the end of this lesson, students will have obtained, evaluated, and communicated information about how the use of renewable and non-renewable natural resources for energy and fuel impacts the environment. In Lesson 4, students figure out how the dam affects the weathering and erosion of the river and canyon area. For more information about this unit, visit myscipartners.com.